आपके सही वाला. So, hi friends, this is Sukant from Trivedi Overseas Jalandhar. So today is a very special occasion. Uh, we have a special guest, Mr. Dan Hurley from Navitas. He's head of public affairs and communications Navitas with a 25 plus years of experience in Canadian government, international education, strategic communications. He's worked with various cabinet ministries and has worked with Navitas for 6 years. Bringing them close to Canadian government, and he is the one who knows what are the policies of the Canadian government, what are the future, what will be the future policies, and how we can work it to our advantage. So, welcome, Dan. Uh, Welcome to the show. Thanks very much for joining. I know it's quite early in the morning with you. And the second guest we have today is Srishti Jha. Srishti, who she is a relatively young lady with two of us. So she is working with Navitas as regional head North India. She knows the student pathway like anything. She is heading Navitas in North and Northeast of India, and she'll be joining us today from Delhi office. Dan is from Canada office, and I'm sitting in my Jalandhar office. So welcome Srishti and welcome Dan. So today we are doing this webinar especially for the benefit of the students who wish to go to Canada or are making some plans to go to Canada for further education, but they are confused that what is happening in the Canadian universities and what is happening in the Canadian market. So I hope today's webinar will clear their confusions to quite an extent and will help them in making this decision. So दोस्तों, आज हम कोई बोरिंग वेबिनार जिसमें विल बी डूइंग प्रेजेंटेशंस एटसेट्रा वैसा नहीं करेंगे. आपके मतलब की बात है भी कनाडा में क्या चल रहा है, कैसे है. आज हम बात करते हैं ऑनेस्टली, ओपनली कनाडा के बारे में. जो सच्चाई है वो आप सुनिए. So first of all, Dan, my question to you, it is for students who have never been to Canada and for parents who are trying to understand what this country really is. Can you please paint a picture? What is Canada like as a place to live and study, and what does it genuinely offer an international student right now?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm speaking to you today from British Columbia. I live near Vancouver on the west coast of Canada. Good afternoon to everybody. It's very early in the morning here. I'm very pleased to be speaking to you on this important occasion. Canada is a large country with many different communities and many different experiences. But at the heart of it, we are a safe and diverse country filled with opportunities for people who come, who've got a plan for whether it's their education, whether it's for their career development or for their personal development. Are you able to hear me?
Yes. That's perfectly fine, Dan.
Okay, great. We've had a long history of welcoming people from all over the world. In fact, our country is, for the most part, a country of newcomers from all around the world. We are also a country that is built on the foundations of Indigenous peoples and Indigenous cultures who have been here for thousands of years. So there is a tradition of welcoming and different mixes of cultures and different mixes of experiences. We have modern cities here in Canada. I mentioned Vancouver. We also have a presence and partnerships in cities like Calgary, Winnipeg, Toronto, Waterloo, and London. And so we're very pleased to be welcoming people from all around the world to study, but also to go through a journey of development, of personal development and personal discovery, which is what we do and what educators do around the world. So with modern and multicultural cities, it's easy to feel both at home as well as to feel that you're meeting and experiencing new things and new people. We're also proud to be home to a large diaspora from India. We've had Indian citizens come to Canada to study, to work, and to settle for almost 150 years. So the Indian diaspora in Canada is one of the most significant population-wise, also significant in business as well as in government and politics. So it is a foundation of our country to have these relationships with India. But there, I would say one of the top experiences is the ability for young people to come here and to not only build their education journey, but also to build these relationships and networks that start when you're young, but they last your whole lifetime. So Canada is a place where we've always been proud of that tradition. There have been some changes, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in this webinar. But at the foundation of it, we are a welcoming country. We continue to be a welcoming country, and it's a pleasure to be talking to you more about this today.
So then that was great. I want to ask you something that is very close to my heart. We see so many Indians, artists, entrepreneurs, professionals who went to Canada for studies, and they came back transformed, not just with a degree, but as a different person. What does Canada do to a person?
That's pretty. That's a pretty wide question. For me, it's been my entire life. I've spent my entire life here in Canada, so I guess everything that's about me is because of my experience in Canada. But I would say, from the students we work with to the citizens that have come here and have built a life here, or for those who come and do their education and go back home, or they go to other parts of the world, I'd say a number of things. First of all, what we do in Canada here is less about changing who someone is, but it's more about bringing out the person that they are and are going to become. And that's because when you are a student, for example, when you come to Canada, you're suddenly in a new environment. You're suddenly surrounded by people who you've never met before, and you're experiencing things that are new. So there's an opportunity there to learn about independence as you move, you move away, or you spend some time away from your parents or your guardians. You are transforming yourself because you're going to a place that's new. It's a little uncertain. You're having to manage your time all of a sudden, especially when you go to university. You've got all these courses you've got to take. You've got assignments. You've got projects you have to work on. You have to build relationships with people, whether it be with your instructors, whether it be with your classmates, with your mentors. You're having to manage your own finances when you're paying your tuition fees, when you're having to purchase meals, when you're having to do things like that. And then you have to make decisions. So that means you're learning to make these decisions on your own. But my point being, when you're in an environment like the ones we nurture at Navitas and our partnerships, you're surrounded by people from all over the world that are going through the same experiences, from different cultures, different perspectives. So in doing that, that does something to you, because you're learning things like confidence, you're learning things like adaptability, and you're building a global mindset. So you're moving from your communities where you live now, where you've grown up, and you're now in a new community, and you're having to work with people all around the world. It really is something, when you move on in your life and when you move on in your career, those things you're going to come back to, those skills that you've learned when you're having to deal with uncertainty or disruption, whether it be in your own life, whether it be in business, whether it be in your career, or having to deal with geopolitical issues that we all deal with. Your ability to be able to adapt to those things, to have the confidence to be able to try new things, we nurture that here in Canada. Because we have a society that is built on this, that is built on building self-reliance, that is built on being open-minded and learning about new things, but also learning about other cultures and other perspectives and other viewpoints. It's really important. So you will learn about things like, because our education system fosters practical and discussion-based learning, you'll learn to think critically, you'll learn to speak up and share your views, and you'll be able to solve real world problems. And that's what the whole point about transformation that you mentioned. That's where you learn that. That's how you learn it. And then you bring it back to your communities, you bring it back to your families, you bring it back to your workplace. And those are things that are absolutely valuable in the education journey.
Then with myself having about 25 years of experience, I have seen a definite personality shift. The guys who have studied in countries like Canada, the growing confidence, the confidence they have when they come back or when they finish their studies, the global perspective and the thought process. And in one line, if I can say, it's a journey from becoming a boy to a man.
Hmm.
So that's what Canada gives you.
Yes, absolutely. And the same thing, moving from being a girl to a woman, a confident
Yeah.
modern woman as well. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yep.
So, so another topic which right now is very hot. They say Canada has closed its doors for immigrants and for students. I have to ask you this directly because every parent, every student who is listening to this, or who might be listening to this in future, because this will be posted on all over social media things, because this broadcast will be forever. Ca- People back in India say Canada na reject kar raha hai. So when I translate it, the Canada is rejecting applications left right without going into merits of the applications. Canada's closed its doors. Visas are not coming. So what is the truth? Because you are there, you know the policies, you know the policy makers. Has Canada actually closed its doors to Indian students or international students? What's the actual situation?
Well, it is true that Canada has reduced the number of students it is bringing in. There has been a dramatic drop in the last 2 to 3 years. We can go into the reasons for that, but I would say rather than Canada being closed, Canada has become more selective. It's become more selective for students that have a genuine motivation for learning, but also that students that have an interest and an alignment with what Canada is needing in terms of its labor market. Just to give you a little context, so in early 2024, the federal government, the Canadian government, introduced a policy, well, many policies, but primarily the major policy is they introduced caps on the number of study permits they were issuing, which they had never done before. So Canada had a general open policy around study permit, the number of study permits they were issuing. It's not that students weren't getting their visas approved all the time. There were still rejections and there was still processing. It's just that for the first time, the federal government set certain targets on the number of students it was going to allow to come and study. So the policies have evolved and changed several times since then. Um, so it is a process of, it has been a disruptive process. I'll admit that for sure. But the federal government is refining its approach to how those caps and how those policies are being implemented, because they have heard from the education sector, they have heard from provincial governments. And if you're not familiar with Canada, so like India, we're a geographically large country. We have, we're one national government, but we have several provincial governments, what they call the provinces. And the provinces actually have a fairly significant responsibility when it comes to the delivery of education and also implementing these policies. So when the caps were introduced, based on the population of each of the provinces. So, for instance, Ontario, where Toronto is, and where a lot of our population, over 40% of our population, is in the province of Ontario, they got the majority of the study permit caps. They also have a large number of the learning institutions. British Columbia is second in terms of the number of student study permit or number of students that come to the country. So they got the next portion, and so on and so forth. But things have changed and adjusted. The other thing is the policies have also had the motivation has been to align the number of students that have been allowed in with the demands of the labor market. It's not that didn't happen before, that there was, that learning institutions and programs weren't aligned with industry or what Canadian industry requires, but there has definitely been a much stronger motivation to do that. For about, several years now, I mean, when I look at the numbers for India, there was a dramatic increase in the number of students that came from India, but from other parts of the world as well, from about 2016-17 through to 2020. Of course, COVID happened in 2020, so there was a dramatic drop. And then after COVID, 21, 22, particularly 2022, you started to see a very large increase in the number of students that were coming, particularly from India. Most of that increase was coming in shorter programs. They were going to college programs, which tend to be 1 or 2 years, and less so for universities, which degree programs typically take 4 years or longer. That's where you were seeing a major increase in the number of students who were coming in. So as I said before, there were no caps before 2024. So the number of students that were coming in to public colleges, particularly in Ontario, but also to some extent in other provinces, that's where you were seeing a big increase in the number of students. And we can talk a little bit about why the government decided to do that. But my point, going back to your question about is Canada closed? No, Canada isn't closed, but Canada is more selective now. It is more selective in the type of students and their motivation to come to Canada.
So degrees are in reckoning now. Degrees from universities, they'll be getting more visas. What I see from the statistics also, the number of visa approvals for universities for degree programs has increased substantially, while the visa approval rates for diplomas, for short programs, for private colleges has gone down.
Yes, that's correct.
So students also should now be focusing on studying in universities, getting degrees, getting admission into degree programs, completing them, and going professional after that.
Yes, I mean it's not that the shorter programs don't there aren't any students going to them, but it's really only for programs that have a very specific alignment with labor market needs in Canada.
Right.
But your point being is that with both the programs, but also the ability to work to get work permits in Canada, there's definitely a much stronger focus on degree programs for undergraduate degrees, but also for graduate degrees in particular. There's for graduate students, there is more of a ability to get a visa faster, as well as the ability to work. But of course, you need to have that grounding, that undergraduate degree, and that undergraduate experience before you can move on to a graduate program.
Thanks, Dan. My next question is for you, Srishti. Since you work very closely with the students and the families in North India, so that question's for you. Canada is clearly changing its expectations, as Dan has also told us. It's clearly changing its expectations. They are more selective, as Dan said. So, from your experience and your point of view, what does a strong Canada-bound student look like today? Who is Canada actually welcoming, and what the students should look for?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Trivedi. That's a very keen question and something that I would love to shed a little bit more light on. I think what the students need to know today is that number one, as Dan said, Canada is not a destination that's closed, but Canada is a destination that is moving towards precision, towards more accurate outcomes of students. So today, Canada is welcoming students who are more genuine, prepared, and coherent with their goals and their academic aspirations. So, the first things that institutions or even visa officers tend to notice is the academic profile, the student's consistency. They're not looking for perfection, but they are looking for a believable progression in the student's profile. And that has become of utmost scrutiny when it comes to the primary focus of what makes a student ready for Canada. The second would be a very important aspect, which would be financial preparedness. Students need to know that there is a certain financial range, which could be Canadian dollars, 23,000 dollars and above, which encompasses both tuition and cost of living, depending on different parts of Canada, as cost of living could be differing in different parts of Canada. And the IRCC is an organization that is heavily scrutinizing this as well. But the cost of studying abroad is something that has to be shown very reliably by students so that they can accurately represent that they can sustain themselves throughout when they are pursuing their education in Canada. The third I would like to focus on is the clarity of purpose. If a student is applying into a particular program, they should be able to explain very, very accurately why they have chosen a particular program, why they have chosen a particular institution, why have they chosen to go to Canada in the first place, and why are they pursuing this now of all the times. So these are questions that students should not just be mugging up in terms of their answers, but they should be understanding their own journey, and so that they can accurately represent that when asked about these questions, not just during their visa process, but also in their academic documents during their application, such as the statement of purpose or any letter of recommendation, or any resume or CVs that they may be providing to the universities. So these need to be very accurately represented. I think this leads me on to the fourth point of importance when on what Canada is looking for in its prospective applicants. Um, that is the English language. I think language really matters today. There are different kinds of English proficiency tests like IELTS, PTE, Duolingo, TOEFL, and I think that students need to start treating this examination as a priority focus in their entire application process and visa process. It's a part of proving that you as a student can truly succeed, not just in the classroom, but also in your daily life within the cultural integrations of Canada. It shows that you can interact with your classmates, with your faculty, with the culture and economy of Canada, and that you are ready to be a contributor member of that particular society. So when I say that Canada is looking for a genuine student, I mean someone whose choices make sense altogether. The stronger the story, the stronger the application profile, the more precise and timely and structured the entire process, the stronger the profile of the student. And the more authentic it is also seen as. And today, that authenticity matters more than ever, in my opinion.
Very well explained, Srishti. The next question is also for you, again for you.
Mhm.
Look, when a student comes to us, the families also come along. It's a very big decision for someone to go outside his or her home country, start a very new life, uh, getting new challenges every day, every hour, and coming to a land where he or she probably knows no one. So
Hmm.
this question didn't surface say 4 or 5 years back. Students are going to Canada. Everybody was going to Canada literally from India, back from North India. But now this question comes, a family comes, they say, why should we go to Canada? Tell us, why not to any other country? Let's not name any other country. Why not to country A, B, or C? Why Canada? Why should a student specifically choose Canada? What Canada offers that others don't? So can you please throw some light on that too?
Absolutely. That's a very poignant question, actually, Mr. Trivedi. Canada is not just a country that is beautiful in its landscape and geography and its vastness, but it's also a very approachable country. First of all, they have an amazing pedigree of institutions that students can get a chance to explore their education in. And it also stands out because, in my opinion, in my experience as well, looking at destinations across the globe and the way they structure their entire journey for students from pursuing their education to looking at any kind of post study work permits or any kind of a PR pathway for the students. Canada offers a very structured journey. It's not just about a degree, but a student can gain a very thorough work experience, in many cases, build towards long term residency, but through very clear and structured mechanisms. If students have a good focus, the right intent, and a very meticulous approach of exploring these avenues, they shouldn't see a problem in that particular journey. And this combination of education, work, and settlement opportunity, in my opinion, is one of Canada's biggest strengths. I think another very big strength of Canada is that the people are just absolutely very nice over there and very welcoming. So that's something that makes Indians feel more at home with the culture and the integrity of the country. Uh, Speaking particularly on postgraduate work permits, I think where the openness and the open-mindedness comes is that they have up to 3 years of work permit after graduation, where students get the avenue to work anywhere in any job in any avenue, so long as it is a legit work permit. But where the flexibility is coming in is that the PAL, which is the I think attestation letter that comes from provinces and territories. I think that there is an exception since this January 2026 for master's programs and PhD programs, which makes the process more faster and simpler, more approachable for these category of students. There's also a very good, I would say, structure to going from postgraduate work permit to PR pathways, which looks at express entry or PNP, and where students or employed students are looked on the basis of their merit, their achievements, and their prolific activities that they have done. So in general, it is a very approachable avenue for the students, and the 10-year roadmap, that is from studying, pursuing your education, to the postgraduate work permit, to work experience, to getting a PR, and then eventually going on to a prospective citizenship. That is a very meticulous, a very structured journey for the people to look into. So long as everything is in place, the likelihood is very good for the students. On top of this, I'd also like to, highlight the cost comparison as compared to Canada as a prospective destination to a lot of other global perspectives. Reapplying in Canada, for example, costs around 150 USD, which is far more flexible than a lot of other countries which are closer to Canadian boundaries as well as much further away from Canadian boundaries as well. So there's no ban, there's no waiting period, there's just a structured mechanism with which they go through. So other destinations have their strengths, sure. But Canada gives you a very focused path from students to resident, and that path is very clear. It's merit based and it is achievable for the focused student. So that is what I see as what is very attractive for Canadian students, and that's something that I would want students to be very aware about.
I like to add up here. I still believe Canada is still the safest and the strongest long-term bet for students and
Yeah,
students' families also, because Canada is a country which has been made out of immigration. So immigration has been the backbone of this country. Um, I believe, every family living there have some connections with other countries, and
yeah,
in the long term also, I don't see Canada cracking down on immigrants or just banning the immigration, because that's the backbone of the country. That's how the business moves there. That's how the real estate moves there. So it's still the biggest thing to happen in Canada. And in the long term also, yes, they'll be selective. They'll be not welcoming anybody and everybody. They'll be welcoming talent. They'll be welcoming the students who deserve to be there. So there'll be room for the people who deserve to be there.
yeah.
So next question, Dan and Srishti, the three of us can all discuss together. So whosoever wants to say can just jump in. Uh, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's accept it. Rejections, we've seen them. The families, people made out plans and then they got rejected. Students losing hope. Just let me know, tell me what actually went wrong. Was it the Canada? Was it some policy matter in the Canada, or were the applications really bad? So
Well, I'll
Dan,
just venture
start
in.
with you.
It could, I think, probably could be a combination of all of those things. It could be a process issue. It could be, as we described before, the fact that the policies have been changing and they have been evolving. So it takes time for visa officers also to pick up on those policy changes that have been happening. So there has been disruption in the system, no question about that. But I think it does come down to the information that is included on a study permit. I think it's some of the things that you mentioned around demonstrating motivation, demonstrating what the purpose of the education is and what the goals of the students are. It's demonstrating financial ability. It has to be underscored. The changes to the financial requirements that were introduced about 2 years ago where now the limit or the financial limit that we put on applications now aligns better with the economy. Because for about 20 years or so, that limit never changed. I think it was at $10,000, and it didn't change for 20 years, which really did a disservice to a lot of students that didn't, you know, that didn't have the enough of the resources required to meet the actual costs of living in Canada. I mean, to be honest, yes, the cost of living has gone up quite a bit, and it continues to grow. There have been changes in just cost of living and supply chain and a variety of different economic factors. So it's very important that a student demonstrates that they have the financial means to be able to pursue their education. So that can't be understated. That is something that you have to plan for and you have to demonstrate in your application. But so there's a variety of things, but you know, I think the point about if you get rejected, it shouldn't be a deterrent. It should be ability to go back, reflect, see what are things that you can change in your application and change in your motivation. It is part of the journey. Sometimes you will get no's. You're going to get no's in different parts of your life. We've all experienced that. It's not fun, but it's part of the learning experience too. So don't give up. You go back to it again. Work with really qualified people, and we have someone on the line here that can really work with you on that to help you walk through that process. But it is a variety of factors, and you have to be aware of that when you go to apply.
And
Uh,
Srishti?
I think I'd like to add on to, I completely agree with what Dan said over here. And certain things that I want to give as advice to students who are directly listening to this webinar right now, in terms of, what they should consider. I think something that contributed to this was also the scrutiny that happened on a very observatory level on the visa applications of students. Weak study gaps, which were not properly explained in student profiles, was something that stood out. Students not being able to explain why there is 4 5 years of study gap, but what have they done during that particular gap time to justify, and why are they pursuing a particular program then after? That has come to question. Another thing that students don't realize is the statement of purpose is actually a very important document as part of their application. And that is something where I know that the world today takes a lot of benefit from AI, a lot of support from AI, but we need to stop telling students to go for those chat GPT and, perplexity written statements of purposes, and start applying and expressing what they really want to, highlight about themselves in their statements of purposes, about who they are, why they have chosen a particular program, why particular institutions. So, I think the clear statement of purpose aspect is also a very considerable aspect in this entire process for a student if they want to see how they want to strengthen their profile. I think some students also in their financial documents oftentimes start showing that they have a very heavy level of reliance on part-time incomes or part-time earning incomes, rather than showing liquid funds or full-time funds for supporting their program and their living in a particular destination. This is not just for Canada, this could be for other destinations as well, but particularly for Canada. And this is something which is under scrutiny now as well. So if you are going with the presumed, presumption that you're going to go there and part-time earning is going to be something that is going to largely support either your cost of living or even a certain part of your education, I don't think that's a very relied upon metric anymore. And you should have the standard to support yourself, or the means to support yourself, either through liquid funds or through an education loan that you've taken from your home country. And that shows a stronger profile for the students. Another one point that I'd like to add over here is, students also need to focus on choosing the right kind of programs for their own pedagogy and their own skill and attributes. Choosing programs based on just what the trend is, or rather than choosing programs on the basis of what your own genuine interest or employability rates are. can be something that could have some kind of an influence in this decision as well. And this is where I have a lot of faith in the agent community of our country. They are very strong and solid support systems for our students who are looking to go outside. So this is exactly where I implore to both communities, the agent community as well as the student community, that this is where guidance matters of the utmost importance. And there's a difference between a rejected profile and the one that is an approved profile. And it shows in the preparation of the student and the reliance of the student on mugged up answers, or choosing generic programs, or showing unsustainable modes of financial integrity. So this is where agencies and agents such as yours, that have shown demonstrable success in giving students very good support, can give a more solid and a more dependable ground to students. They can be more reassuring to students that this is where you need to be a little bit more prepared. So yeah.
Thanks, Srishti. Thanks for some kind words for the agent community. That was music to ears. So coming back, what we said, look, guys, if we see the statistics for short courses and vocational courses, the visa success rate for Canada in the previous 1 year has been only 11%. And if we see private colleges, it's somewhere around 20 to 25%. For universities and undergraduate degree program, it's about 52%, and for masters, it's about 85%. So clearly, if your agent guides you well, he guides you to a degree program which goes well along with your career prospects and your future planning, then the visa success rate goes up. So choosing an agent who guides you well is also very important, and the one who has direct connections with the universities, who can give you straight away the right information, the correct information, and the genuine and authentic information is very important. Choosing the agent comes very important. And the role of agent is not just paperwork. It's to strategize your application, it's profile building, institution selection, and as Srishti said, statement of purpose. You're going to make your statement of purpose. Yes, we're going to help you. We're going to tell you, look, this is not right. Make some changes in your SOP. This is which will go along well. And I tell you, Navita's team also helps a lot. They are very helpful because, look, we don't expect a student who is in class 12th to know whole about the world, but it's about research. You need to put in some research, go to websites, go to chat gpt even, but don't copy from there. You can
Yeah.
get your research done from chat gpt, make it in your own words, align it with your future aspirations, align it with your career goals, and then write this statement of purpose. That's very important to get the visa success, because once the visa is successful, then the journey starts. Then your Canadian journey starts, and then you can achieve your goals and achieve your career goals also. So thanks very much, Dan, and thanks, Srishti, for joining in today. For the question and answer session, we have this comment box with us. So, guys, if you have any questions regarding today's presentation, regarding today's webinar, or anything about Canada, feel free to ask your questions in the comment box. Our team will reach out and give you perfect answers that will really help you. So I hope आप लोगों के लिए आज का सेशन बहुत इंफॉर्मेटिव था. हम यहाँ पर आपको ना कोई यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं बेचने आए हैं. इट इज to help you select the right course and the right university for you. And then I'm sorry using the Hindi language in between, because it is what our students are asking. So thoda sa again it's just we'll be translating for you in future also. So there are few questions on this. Again, there are questions. I'm taking few questions who are there. The question is why Canada is not giving visas. This is Pavan Rajput. Pavan, I believe we already answered that. Canada is as there's nothing like Canada is not giving visas. Canada is giving visas to the right profiles and the guys who have applied through the right universities and the right colleges. Uh, Again, Pavan said he's class 12th pass with non-medical student. His IELTS is 6, no less than 5.5. Am I eligible for Canada? Srishti, can you please answer this for Pavan?
Yes, I believe the student would be eligible to apply, but they have to also be specific about the kind of program that they are applying because they're a non-medical student. That means that they do not have mathematics most likely in their, or
No,
maybe as
non-medical,
a commerce
he has
student.
mathematics.
Oh,
He's
sorry.
a
So if he
non-medical
has
student, he has
mathematics,
mathematics.
so if he has mathematics in his student portfolio, then he should be able to apply to decent, the business programs, entrepreneurial programs, analytics programs on a foundational
So
level.
his
And
mathematics
this
score
is
is
where,
65. His math score
okay,
is 65. And could you please advise him about some good pathway programs? Because
yeah.
with IELTS 6, no less than 5.5, he qualifies for pathway programs.
That's exactly what I was going to recommend to him. That sometimes what happens is this is where pathway programs become a very good bridge to go to the right kind of degree program in the future. So we have got six pathway programs, six colleges that offer pathway avenues to students, and they could be students who are coming from non-medical or they could non-mathematical background as well, and they could be programs which could be allied to business studies, they could be programs which are allied to entrepreneurial studies or data analytics, business analytics, and they could be very good bridges to certain universities like let's say University of Lethbridge, Western University Canada. And if you're at 65%, the caveat is that even if you are not eligible to apply or to some of the U15 universities that are there in Canada, we've got pathways to certain of those universities, pathway colleges. So they can actually apply to those pathway colleges, do international year one in that pathway program, and then directly go from their second year onwards to that particular university. So it's and the good part is that these are all prestigious universities and institutions. So the when the visa officer or the IRCC would be scrutinizing the application of the student or assessing it, the rate of acceptability would go higher because of the consideration of these institutions as well. But that being suggested, I think Pavan was the name of the student. So Pavan, I would
Yes.
also recommend you to make an effort on your application in on a very personal basis as well. Your IELTS 6.5 with a no band lesser than 5.5 is pretty decent for you to be able to look at these kind of pathway options and make a strong statement of purpose, make your applications in a timely manner rather than going on to the last minute, and take help from counselors from agencies such as Trivedi Overseas. Come to them, ask them to help you out with your entire profile and to pick out the right kind of institution options for you. And they are directly connected with us. If you choose to apply to any of the Navitas pathway colleges, then we have a team at Navitas as well. And generally, most institutions tend to have their own institutional teams as well that would give you any kind of support or any kind of information that you would require on that journey. So, just be well informed, and you're still in the timeline that you can still make application. If you're looking to go in September, you can still make an application to the pathway colleges, and that could be a decent option for you. So consider that, and maybe that can get you that visa acceptance that you are looking for.
Dan, may I request you to answer one question for this boy, Kanav Chopra? He asks me, what are the best courses for getting jobs in Canada after completion of studies? Well, that's a
That's a
very
good question.
vague question otherwise,
It's
but
a big
then that's how
question.
kids are.
Yes, it is a big question. I mean, there are many different pathways, as Shristi commented, but I would say I'll bring it down to what we're seeing at the sort of the larger government level as where the needs are in the labor market. So I would say key areas that are going to lead to a, say, for example, work permit, a postgraduate work permit. Again, you get a degree, you complete a degree here, you have an open work permit. So that's a big motivation. It allows you to be able to work in multiple industries and in different parts of the country. But I would say healthcare for sure. Healthcare is there's big demand in the healthcare. So not just for doctors or for medical professionals, but the broader healthcare system. So anyone that may be working in health sciences or something that's supporting healthcare programs like that have that touch on that are in demand. Technology, especially with artificial intelligence, AI. It's a huge topic right now. I'm sure it's a big conversation for you at school and in India, in the communities in general. But that is a big priority for here in Canada for sure, and a lot of different programs. Again, STEM programs: science, technology, engineering, medical, is a significant part. But programs like engineering, things that are going to support trades. So trades people who are usually, that's programs that are delivered at public colleges, but also there's also a strong need for people who have experience in project management, for example. Now, your ability to be able to plan, organize, and implement projects, that's going to be a very significant demand in the business and in industry sector, but educators as well. So we need people who are going to be able to deliver these programs and teach the next generation of students as well. Those are also areas. So it's a general answer to a pretty broad question, but I would say really understand what the job market is looking for, not only in Canada. If your motivation is to move to Canada, that's one thing. But I mean, many of you will want to go back, and we want you to go back to your communities back in India. And so understand what the needs are in your own community too, and where your education journey is going to benefit you. But your ability to be able to not only learn the technical side of things, but be able to work with people, to lead people. And that's why we go back to what I was saying about the experience. The ability to be able to work with people with different experiences and different backgrounds is very important, not only for living a good life, but also to apply to your career, because the jobs of the future are going to require that ability. So think carefully about those things as you and then make that program selection. But as Shristi was saying, there's so many different pathways. We have a U15 community in this country. We're very proud of those institutions, but realistically, all of our universities have very high quality programs, and and so we that's where we differentiate ourselves, I think, from different countries. We don't want to point too many of them out, but the ones one we live next to, and and other communities where there tends to be a bit of a tiered system, the Ivy League and so forth. We don't have that as much in Canada because we're more egalitarian, and our degree programs are very similar. So any one of these pathways that you're going to have, you're going to get that experience, as much of that experience as you would at any of the larger institutions.
I think I completely agree with you, Dan. The one thing that I would just add to it over here is that I would also encourage students that when you are pursuing your education in Canada and when you're in your respective colleges or universities, go and talk to your career support team that is there in almost every institution as well. They almost always have a lot of updates for you in terms of, what kind of recruitment opportunities are up and coming in that particular territory or that area. If there are any career fairs or recruitment fairs that may be up and coming in that particular area. And they also sometimes offer very steadfast support to the students in terms of how a student should design their CV or their resume to be, considered for these positions. And in some cases, even give them like a mock interview or two to prep them up for the role. So if you are there as a student like as Dan said, that these are really good universities and institutions in Canada, and something that they have alongside is that they offer very good support to their students in regard to these services. So take advantage of these services, talk to these people, and get more information, stay up to date with what's currently happening in the Canadian market, and that should help you guys out.
We have another student who joined in, and the question is, the boy's name is Kaval Dillon. Kaval's
Mhm.
question is, what is the pathway? And he said he's done his class 12th with the arts, IELTS is 6.56, and 2026 pass out. So latest pass out. So Kaval, let me tell you pathway. Pathway is like Dan had just told us, like if you don't qualify for a university directly, maybe academically, or you're late for getting admission into that university in that year, like say it's 2026 September intake, and you plan to get admission in Simon Fraser University, but the timeline is out. You don't have time to apply directly for a bachelor's degree to Simon Fraser, or you don't directly meet the academic requirements to enter into Simon Fraser. Then we have a very interesting pathway which Navitas is offering, that is FIC, Fraser International College, wherein you study the first year as UTP, University Transfer Program, which is equivalent to first year of your education in Simon Fraser University. The best thing is you are studying at the campus of the university as the other students are. Class size of the class, the number of students in a class is limited. Like in university, if you're studying there, the number of students in a class may be 200, 250. It's so many students attending the lectures. But in the pathways, the number of students in a class are very limited, say 25, 30, max 40. So understanding is very good. And then the teachers can take good care of you. The transition into the university environment is easy, and is the pathways are very helpful for developing the student and projecting him into the university in the second year. So Srishti, your views on this, and just let them know more about pathways, as I've told some features of the pathway programs.
Very well explained, Mr. Trivedi. I think I would want Kaval to just
Srishti,
think
can you
about the
explain
word
this in
pathway.
Hindi? हिंदी
Yes,
में अगर आप बता दें तो
absolutely.
that will be really good.
बिल्कुल, एब्सोल्युटली। सो कंवल, आप पाथवे को एक ब्रिज के जैसे देखो। आप पाथवे मतलब एक रास्ता, आप एक रास्ते में जा रहे हैं किसी की तरफ, तो आप ये सोचो कि पाथवे इज अ ब्रिजिंग प्रोग्राम। जैसे आप एक ब्रिज से एक साइड से दूसरी साइड की तरफ जा रहे हो और वो आपको उस दूसरी साइड जाने के लिए एक सपोर्ट मिल गया है। अब मान लीजिए कि आप आर्ट्स बैकग्राउंड से आए हैं, आपको एक पर्टिकुलर यूनिवर्सिटी जैसे साइमन फ्रेजर यूनिवर्सिटी में अल्टीमेटली पढ़ने का मन है, लेकिन आप क्योंकि आप बिजनेस प्रोग्राम पढ़ना चाहते हैं, आप एनालिटिक्स पढ़ना चाहते हैं, पर आपने मैथ्स नहीं अपने 11th 12th में लिया हो, तो आप FIC, विच इज फ्रेजर इंटरनेशनल कॉलेज, वहां पे एक पाथवे प्रोग्राम लेके आप वहां से अपना एक जर्नी बिल्ड कर सकते हैं। आप अपना इंटरनेशनल ईयर 1 जो आपका फर्स्ट ईयर होगा, वो आप फ्रेजर इंटरनेशनल कॉलेज में कर लेते हैं। और अगर आपके मार्क्स, आपका परफॉर्मेंस उस फर्स्ट ईयर में वो बेसिक एलिजिबिलिटी के साथ पास हो जाता है, तो आप अपने सेकंड, थर्ड एंड फोर्थ ईयर को फिर साइमन फ्रेजर यूनिवर्सिटी में कंप्लीट कर सकते हैं। पर अब आपको साइमन फ्रेजर यूनिवर्सिटी का जो मेन एलिजिबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया था, वो अगर आपका नहीं था, या उस प्रोग्राम के लिए आपकी एलिजिबिलिटी नहीं बन पाई थी, तो वो अगर आपके पास नहीं थी पहले, तो अब आपके पास ये चांस में आ गया कि आप इस चीज को कवर कर सकते हैं और अब आप अपनी डिग्री साइमन फ्रेजर यूनिवर्सिटी से एंड में ले सकते हैं। तो पाथवे एक मीडियम है बेटा, जिससे आपको एक पॉइंट से दूसरे पॉइंट तक जाने में एजुकेशन वाइज सपोर्ट मिल जाता है, एंड इट्स अ ब्रिजिंग प्रोग्राम। तो अगर कुछ लोगों को लगता है कि पाथवेज में तो वीकर स्टूडेंट्स जाते हैं, या पाथवेज आपका कोई डिप्लोमा है, पाथवेज कोई डिप्लोमा प्रोग्राम नहीं है। इट इज नॉट अ डिप्लोमा प्रोग्राम। इट एक्चुअली बिल्ड्स अ ब्रिज टू द मेन फुल टाइम प्रोग्राम। सो आप एक डिग्री प्रोग्राम ही कर रहे हैं, लेकिन वहां उस डिग्री प्रोग्राम की तरफ अपनी एलिजिबिलिटी और अच्छी करने के लिए ये पाथवे आपको सपोर्ट दे रहा है। तो आई होप इससे आपको पाथवे का एक समझ आया होगा, बट इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस यू कैन लीव इट इन द चैट बॉक्स। थैंक यू।
And no extra time, you still complete your degree in 4 years, as
एंड यू
the
स्टिल
ones who
कंप्लीट योर डिग्री
get
इन 4
admitted to
years
directly to the universities.
Yes,
So that's
absolutely.
what we have time for today. Thank you very much again, Dan and Srishti. But for you students, next 6 days, same time, 4:30 in the evening, 6 days, 6 universities. Srishti, can you name the universities for me, please? All the 6 days.
Yes, absolutely. So we have Western Universities, Western International College. Then we have Toronto Metropolitan Universities, Toronto Metropolitan International College, Wilfrid Laurier Universities, Wilfrid Laurier International College, Simon Fraser Universities, Fraser International College, University of Lethbridge's, UICC. And I think I'm missing out on one more from what I understand, because there are so many good options for
Toronto
students. Or
Metropolitan University,
no,
ICM,
I think so.
Manitoba, TMUIC. Did you say that?
University of Manitoba's ICM, which is a very
Yes.
popular student for students to consider. So, look into all these webinars. They're going to be spread out across the next 6 days, and there are going to be people from the institutions who are going to come over and talk to you about the USPs of their colleges and institutions, and what exactly do you need to have if you want to apply to these colleges. तो आपको अगर कुछ भी जानने की जरूरत है कि आपकी क्या एलिजिबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया है, या आपको क्या एप्लीकेशन के लिए रिक्वायरमेंट्स होंगी, स्कॉलरशिप्स क्या हैं, तो ये सारी की सारी इंफॉर्मेशन आपको अगले 6 डेज में डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड जरूर मिल जाएंगी, एंड कॉलेज से डायरेक्टली लोग आएंगे आपको ये इंफॉर्मेशन देने के लिए,
So
along with somebody
basically,
from
from
Navitas as well.
basically from Ontario to BC, almost all the provinces are covered.
Absolutely.
Big geographical, because Canada is such a big country, huge country, I'll say. So almost all the provinces are covered, and these universities which Srishti named might be a dream for many of you students, and it would seem for you guys to. It would seem very difficult to get into these universities, but the pathway programs, the Navitas programs, make your dreams come true. It will make the journey easy and very fruitful also. So
Yes.
guys, 6 days, 6 universities, don't miss it, because it can, this 1 hour or 40 minutes spent can change your life, can change your life for the positive one, and can help you meet your career and future goals also. So my message for you guys is, assess yourself, uh, that is that university is the right fit for your personality, for your goals, for your budget. We'll give you the information. The decision is yours. So thanks again, Dan, and thanks, Rishti. So see you guys tomorrow again, same time, 4:30. See us on our YouTube channels. See us on Insta, and tomorrow we'll be on the Facebook also. Thank you. Thanks again. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Shukriya.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.